right, everyone. Welcome back to the Saturday in Athens GA podcast. My name is Marshall Barton. Very exciting week one for Georgia. Got to see some good things out of Gunner Stockton. The defense looks like it's back to its normal self. Today, we're really going to go into some of the film from that game, look at all the scores, analyze what happened on those plays. We're going to look at specifically players. We're going to look at Gunner Stockton, and we're going to look at Drew Bobo. Two players I feel like have been really not really criticized in some ways, yeah, but they're players that just people have questions about, and I want to answer these questions to the best of my ability. So we're going to look at those two. We're going to go over just around the country a little bit. Very exciting week one for college football. Georgia didn't play a great team, but I will say this: there's a lot of great stuff going on around college football. A lot of headlines for sure. So college football this season is going to be very exciting. Georgia's season will be more exciting than anyone's, I believe. But it was very exciting to see some of these other games that weren't Georgia's in week one. So we're going to go into those a little bit. I watched highlights on many of those games and have some pretty well thought out takes on those, I feel like. So stay tuned and we'll go over those. But I'm excited for what we've got today and what college football has got for this season. Before I officially get started, I do want to point something out. And I think this is pretty funny. My name is Marshall. Georgia played Marshall this weekend. Do you know how many times I walked around Athens last week and someone was talking about the Georgia-Marshall game, and I thought they were talking to me. So, I went insane last week. I'm just looking around, and people are saying my name. Imagine you walk around Athens, and everyone's talking about you. You think they're talking about you, because your whole life, you've been called by that name. So when someone says that name, you think they're talking to you. No, they're talking about a football team. But you think they're talking to you. So you're just looking around all the time like, why is everyone talking about me? It was crazy. It was weird. Thank God that game is over. Thank God Marshall Hate Week is over, and we can finally get on to Austin Peay. But I'm glad the Dogs won by a lot. I can get with the program. So we're good. We're doing great. Not my name anymore that we're playing. It was a bad week from that perspective, but great for Georgia football. And I'm so excited about that. But I'm excited to go over some of the stuff I've got for this week. Obviously, the Tennessee game is the one we're really kind of looking forward to. Definitely a bigger stakes game, though I think Georgia runs the table in that one. I won't have a full breakdown and analysis until next week. So stay tuned for that. I'm very excited for it. If you've been following this page for a while, you've known that I've always hated Tennessee, and Tennessee is probably the team I hate the most. Alabama is a close second, but it's definitely a week where hate is in my heart. So just be aware of that. Just know that that's the case here. We're going to go ahead and stop yapping and rambling for a minute. We're going to jump right into my initial thoughts on Georgia's matchup versus Marshall in week one. Sorry, that's going to get really annoying. I was really, really impressed with our defense. The team speed defensively was very, very impressive. I was excited to see guys like Chris Cole sort of come onto the scene. Raylan Wilson had a great game. C.J. Allen played a C.J. Allen-style football game. And obviously we got a bunch of some second strings, backups, third strings. Got a bunch of different players in there to get some experience. So that was great. Definitely got to see a good bit of DeMello Jones last week, given the absence of Dalen Everett, which I'll get into in just a minute. But we got to see a good bit of him. I thought he played fairly well. I can't remember if that long pass was on him or not. Again, so many different players played, so my memory's a little faint on who it was. But I thought overall Daniel Harris and Ellis Robinson looked really good. I do think Ellis Robinson will probably get the start when Dalen Everett comes back. Not 100% sure. But I know no matter what, both of those players will play a good bit. So looking forward to seeing how they can compete. Even against a smaller team like Austin Peay, you can still learn a lot about these guys early on. Just who they are from an athleticism standpoint and a fundamental standpoint. Because you can be as good as you want, but if you don't have fundamentals, it's going to show against no matter who you're playing. So we'll see. We'll see who has the better technique there from those defensive backs. I was excited to see Elijah Griffin get that tackle. That tackle, the first tackle he had, the big tackle, was a tackle for loss. But when I saw it, it just felt like Jalen Carter. I know that you could take that as like, oh, overreaction or glaze. I don't know. But it's exciting to see somebody who has very similar characteristics to Elijah Griffin. It was exactly who it reminded me of. And, I mean, just defensive line, front seven, all around. The starting 11 on defense looked phenomenal. Team speed is incredible. That front seven, though, is different. And I think that front seven, you'll see a lot of similarities to that 21 and 22 teams, both of those teams. I hope. It is just Marshall. So what's really tough about a game like this is I can't overreact to a game versus Marshall. I can't say, oh, Gunner Stockton's winning the Heisman because he had a really good game versus Marshall. I can't say that. I can't say that Zach Branch is going to win the Blitnikoff because he balled out against Marshall. But we can have some takeaways, which I'm going to do my absolute best to evaluate in this show today. So that was kind of my take on the defensive side of the ball. I thought Gunner looked really good offensively, and I've heard some critiques. You'll see an interview in just a minute where Hammy from the Hammy Show and We Are Bulldogs, we discussed Gunner's performance. I give him a B+ to an A- because he did have 2 horrid throws, and his arm talent is not A+. He's an accurate thrower. He makes the right reads, which is all I want, is all I need. For me, that's an A+. But for guys who are looking like, oh, who's going to be the top prospect in the NFL draft? It's not him. Gunner has a lot of similarities in my mind. He has Stetson and Fromm similarities. Like he's got legs like Stetson. Not as fast, obviously, but he can be a mobile quarterback like Stetson. That's what sets him apart from guys like Carson Beck as well. But also being like kind of that first-year guy, and he just needs to play within the system. He doesn't need to be your best player on the field to win games. I feel like that's kind of what Jake Fromm was. There's a bunch of similarities. I feel like Gunner Stockton is Stetson Bennett and Jake Fromm's child. And I don't know if that's just me seeing that or saying that, but I think he has a lot of similarities to both of them. It's a good mix of them, in my opinion. I'm excited to see some of his film later. I think overall he played a very good game, and his running ability is really what sets him apart. Even though Ryan Puglisi can run, and we saw it on film, I think that's what sets Gunner apart. And he's a leader. The dude wants to play for Georgia. You all saw the stat where he has a 1984 truck with 300,000 miles on it. He grew up in a town of 400 people. He has a sister named Georgia. He got cows and a bull for his birthday when he was younger. The dude bleeds red and black. He just screams Georgia football. I don't know how else to put it. So I'm very excited to see Mr. Georgia. We're going to call him Mr. Georgia from now on. How about that? We'll call Gunner Stockton Mr. Georgia. So I'm very excited to see Gunner again this week, and when we finally play an SEC opponent and get to open the playbook a little bit more, see how he does. Definitely would like to see Noah Thomas and Colby get some more targets. I don't want Tennessee and Bama to have it on film that, hey, we have 2 really elite guys out here, go guard them. I don't want to put that on film, but I just want to see what they can do. I want to see what this offense could look like with those 2. Obviously, Zach Branch had a fantastic game on Saturday. Again, it's just against Marshall. He had a great debut for the Georgia Bulldogs. Running back room by committee. Kirby was not lying about that. The room looks great. Can't wait to see what it looks like against a real opponent. Offensive line's got some questions, but we'll get into that. We'll also look over Drew Bobo's film specifically. But I do want to go ahead and jump into my analysis our analysis for Georgia Austin Peay, which is me, Hammy, Georgia Dogs coverage, and UGA Rush on Instagram. Just so excited to have Georgia football back, y'all. It's a great time of year. Georgia won that first game. We're going to go and jump into it. Georgia won that first game by 38 points. Austin Peay beat a D1 team, or a FBS team. I'm not sure what Middle Tennessee is. Don't quote me on that. Obviously, they're D1 if they're playing each other. But Austin Peay beat them 34-14. So, and that's a team that should be better than them. I don't even know what I wrote down ASUN for their conference. I couldn't tell you what that stands for right now when I looked it up. No one knows what conference Austin Peay is. I'm gonna look that up for you real quick. Actually, what does ASUN stand for? I do this all the time. I write down stuff and just don't remember what I mean by that. ASUN. We're gonna look that up. ASUN conference. It is just ASUN. Atlantic Sun. I should have guessed that. Anyway, they're from the ASUN conference. They're 1-0. They just beat Middle Tennessee 34-14. Georgia's coming off a big win versus Marshall. This game happened in 2018 where Georgia won 45-0, and Georgia was beating them so bad and it was so hot outside that both the coaches agreed to shorten the game to 10-minute fourth quarter. Pretty cool stat there. You'll win a trivia game with that. Georgia's up 1-0 in the all-time series with that 45-0 win in 2018. Obviously, Georgia has the edge at every single position. There's no need to even go over that. But I do want to go over our keys to winning that we came up with. And I give Rush and Hammy credit on this one, and Georgia Dogs. I kind of tidied it up a little bit with I threw in some of my own terms there, but I wouldn't say tidied it up. I gave some of my own takes there too, and just added to theirs. But they pretty much hit the nail on the head. We just got to stay healthy. Obviously, Georgia came into this season very, very healthy. Still very healthy, but even just some minor injuries week 1 have you worried. Like, okay, we don't need any injuries, guys. We need to stay healthy because we got a team, we got a squad. But just stay healthy. That's nothing we can really control, and football's a violent game. But if Georgia can stay healthy, the sky's going to be the limit for the Dogs in 2025. The other thing I added in here that I actually really think is valuable for this Georgia team, for fans to know, we don't need to reinvent the wheel offensively. We don't need to come up with the new flashy playbook for college football. Georgia football just needs to play Georgia football. Run the dang ball. Be a physical offensive line, physical offensive attack. Sky's the limit for Georgia this year, y'all. If Georgia just plays their brand of football, we could be unstoppable. We really could be. We really have to commit to finding our identity. We are supposed to be a physical football team. Go play like it. Be physical in the pass game. Find some guys who can block on the perimeter, and you're going to dominate teams. And I think we've got that this year in guys like Colby Young and Noah Thomas. Can you throw screens to Zach Branch and not get as mad as you got at Mike Bobo last year? Because we got the guy who can run some screens. I really hope that Dylan Bell breaks out. And I think he will. I think it might take him a couple weeks just being in the stacked receiver room, but I think he could really, really show up and show out. Defensively, continue to set the tone, play with team speed. Team speed was immaculate on Saturday. I was very excited to see what our team speed looked like last week defensively. Really hope we can continue it. Defense played sound. There's really not much I can give you on defense other than the defense played well overall. Excited to see those guys I mentioned by name, but defense just played well overall. Just build off of a big win, get another big win, escape injuries, play a simple game of football. Don't show off all of our plays like we didn't do that last week. That was great. Do the same thing. Do not show off to Bama and Tennessee what we have offensively, what we can throw at you. Because we don't need to come up with all these trick plays or these little wrinkles against Austin Peay to beat Austin Peay. So that's another thing, though, for the fan base. Like, just because Mike Bobo and Kirby are calling a much simpler offense doesn't mean they suck at calling football. It means they don't want to expose what we have to these teams we're about to play, who are higher caliber teams or higher conference opponents than the first two teams we played. So very excited, again, to see our Dogs this week and then see what we could do heading into that Tennessee game. So now I'm going to go over some of my picks. I do a bunch of around the country stuff now along with the Georgia stuff on this page. I feel like it gives y'all, more so because I feel like it gives y'all some more info on these other teams, because all I cover is Georgia, really. Or at least that's all I've done for a long time. But like now I feel like it's a good thing to give you guys some sort of education, I guess, on what the rest of the league can look like and what we might be facing throughout the year. I do want to give you some prop bets, money lines, just some bets. Again, this is battle bets. You're not actually spending real money on it. I encourage you all to go check it out. It's all over my page if you want to go join. But it's great. You do real college football lines. You're not actually getting addicted to gambling or paying real money. It's great. It is an advertisement, so yes, it is. I'm not going to spend a bunch of time on it, but I do think it's a good thing, and I do like the actual lines part. So we are going to spend some time looking at the lines. Oklahoma at Michigan, that's game day this week at Oklahoma. I think that has potential to be a really good game. I will take Oklahoma's money line. I think John Mateer's a pretty good quarterback. You know what's crazy, though, is we're talking about betting, and we're talking about John Mateer in Oklahoma in the same sentence. That's not really that crazy, but it's just like, it's a full circle thing, Mr. Venmo. So I do think Oklahoma will win this football game straight up. The other one's pretty easy. LSU plays Louisiana Tech, I believe, this weekend. And the line's Garrett Nussmeier, 2.5 passing touchdowns. I'm hammering the over on that, y'all. Why would I not? What reason does Garrett Nussmeier have to not throw 3 touchdowns or more against Louisiana Tech? I thought he played very well last week against a good Clemson defense in an environment that really wanted to win that game. Like, that was not an easy environment, I don't think, for LSU to go into for their first game and win. And they did it. And I think you can make the argument for them being at 3 in this AP poll. I think it's fair. I'm not going to argue about it, but I'm happy because I want Georgia to stay underrated and somewhat doubted on, fly under the radar heading into these next 2 SEC games, and then beyond that if possible. But I'll take Garrett Nussmeier over 2.5 touchdowns, 2.5 passing touchdowns. This one's my favorite one for the week. We've got UL Monroe versus Alabama. Bama favored by 37.5. I don't know if y'all know the trend with new coaches at Alabama. UL Monroe is covering that 37.5 spread. UL Monroe has a history with Alabama and newer coaches. They beat Nick Saban in his first year. Ole Miss, Kentucky money line. This is such easy money. I'm taking Ole Miss on the money line. I think Austin Simmons could be a really good player this year for Ole Miss. Vandy, Virginia Tech. It's at Virginia Tech. Spread's 1.5. Vandy got the best of them last year. I don't think it's going to happen again this year. And I think, honestly, Virginia Tech played as a somewhat solid game last week against South Carolina. South Carolina just has some dudes. South Carolina has some dudes. Lawrence Sellers is pretty dang good. Nick Harbor's pretty dang good. Dylan Stewart's pretty dang good, even though they got hurt. So, but they still played a solid game. I think it speaks more to Virginia Tech. Maybe Carolina's not what we thought they'd be, but I do think it speaks more to Virginia Tech. I'll take Virginia Tech to cover 1.5 versus Vandy. And then the final one, Iowa State, who started their year off with a win versus Kansas State, who now can barely beat North Dakota. Not even NDSU, just North Dakota. So obviously Kansas State is irrelevant and a fraud. But Iowa State had a pretty good week last week. I'm pretty sure. I'll have to look at that. But they got technically a ranked win that first week against the top 20 team, and they're playing Iowa. I'm thinking Iowa State. I think it's at Iowa State. I may be wrong. Iowa State covers 2.5. So those are my prop bets for the week. My lines for the week. It's time to look over my pick'ems for this week. I'm gonna brag. I went 8-2 last week in pick'em. Were some of those games that I wanted to go and win? No, I didn't want Miami and Carson Beck to be right. I didn't want to be right on that game, but I was right. Carson Beck played fairly solid. Obviously, he didn't play as well as he wants to believe he did, but he played pretty solid, and Miami won the game. So give them credit. That's also what happens when you buy a roster, but it will fall apart because I'm telling you, teams like Miami and Texas and A&M already are case studies for why buying a roster for $40 million doesn't work. That's my NIL rant for this episode. We're going to go ahead and get into my pick'em for this week. We've got, I already told you this, Iowa State over Iowa, Syracuse over UConn. Pretty confident about those two. Illinois over Duke could be like low-key an upset for Duke. I've got Illinois right now. We're going to look more at that later in the week. I'm not as confident about these picks as I was last week's. I missed on Clemson last week, and that was one of the two I missed on. I can't remember what the other one I missed on was. I don't know. I'll have to look back at it. SMU over Baylor. I had Baylor initially, but then I realized that Auburn's really not a good football team. I don't believe they are. They won by a lot of though against Baylor. So maybe I'm wrong. I don't think I am. I think Baylor's just bad maybe this year. So I'm taking SMU over Baylor. NC State over Virginia. Mizzou's still an SEC team that recruits fairly well. Stole my guy Damon Wilson last year. So we'll take Mizzou over Kansas. West Virginia over Ohio. Arizona State over Mississippi State. Already said Virginia Tech over Vandy. That could be a really, really good close game. Underrated game for week 2. Not as crazy of a slate for week 2 as week 1, obviously. But it's still college football, so who's complaining? Who's complaining? I just get my dogs back. That's what I'm happy about. And then probably the game of the week where College Game Day will be at for the first time without Lee Corso permanently will be Oklahoma and Michigan. Taking Oklahoma to win the game. Again, I think John Mateer is that dude. I think he can be that dude. We'll see. Mateer and the Sooners get it done versus Oklahoma in Norman. So those are my picks for the week. Let's go 8-2 again. Why not go 8-2 again? And these could change. I'm going to post this on Friday again. I'm recording this on Wednesday. I could post this again on Friday and it look a lot different. But we will see. I don't know. College football is very fluid. Teams are good for a while, then they're bad. It's tough to follow season because there's 130-something FBS teams, and one team wins a big game one week and then loses 3 straight, and it's hard to keep up. But I feel pretty unconfident about those picks right now. We'll see how it changes throughout the week. Do want to go ahead and go over some of these injuries for Georgia. Injury report. Obviously, Juan Gaston went down last week with it looked like he got rolled up on his ankle. He underwent an MRI to determine whether it was high ankle or not. Sounds like he won't need surgery. Not really sure the specifics still on the ankle injury, but we're listening as closely as possible. Definitely looks like he got rolled up on. I believe it was on Dwight's touchdown. May have been Gunner's first rushing touchdown. I cannot remember for sure. No, he got rolled up on. Ernest Green was also injured. He may or may not be back this week. Both those players may or may not be back this week. I'd totally be okay with sitting them this week and then they come back next week. Just not sure what the current timetable is on that. Not really confident yet on what that will be. We can look at Dalen Everett, though. Dalen Everett should be back this week. Dalen could have played last week. He came out fully dressed, and I think probably could have gone if he needed to. Kirby probably said that word for word. But out of precaution, kept him out. He had an ankle injury. That could be really bad if he re-injures that in game. We don't want to lose Dalen Everett, even though we've got a pretty stacked secondary, pretty stacked cornerback room. A lot of talent there. So, anyway, I think he'll play this week. I'd be excited to see him play this week. Brett Thorson's still kind of the same story. He's cleared to kick. That doesn't mean that he's cleared to play football. Obviously, he got injured tackling a guy last year, or trying to tackle a guy last year in the SEC championship. I hope he gets back out there. I love Brett Thorson. He's such a good dude, such an energetic guy. Very good at very good at stopping people on punt returns, as you can see in those last 4 games. But really hope he gets back out there. Rod Robinson, I hate that Rod Robinson can't stay healthy because this dude, when he is healthy, is so good. I hope he gets back out there. He's got a hamstring injury, which is why he missed week 1. But I really hope to see him back out there. Not sure on his exact recovery either. Kyron Jones and Micah Morris probably could play this week. They both had some minor injuries, lingering injuries they're dealing with. Nothing too crazy. If they don't play, they'll be back the next week. I'm very certain of. But we'll see. Things happen. Things change. What Kirby tells the media may or may not be true to throw off some of these other teams. So, but we'll see about that. I do want to go ahead and give out my score prediction. We're going to do score prediction. Then I'm going to do a Q&A through my story. And then we're going to look at that top 25. See what we think about that first top 25 of the year. This is how I know it's football season. We're finally getting some ranking shifts. But score prediction, Dogs 55, Austin Peay 3. I do think Austin Peay is significantly worse than Marshall. Georgia won 45-7 last week. I think Georgia could probably have some backups in pretty quickly in this game. We'll see. Got the Dogs 55-3. I would advise that no Austin Peay player comes out and says that Sanford Stadium is something they've been in before, or that this is the best time to have Georgia, or that you're going to shock them. Because if you do that, you'll probably end up on a reel and go viral for saying something stupid. Just saying. I'm not trying to be cocky here and saying that, but just saying. It's not a good tactic given what happened last week with that player who said that. We're going to look at that Q&A now. Appreciate you guys participating in that. Definitely gives me some good content. Just getting to connect with you guys further. Building sort of a college football community, which is what I want to do with this account. And I think we're getting close to that, which is great. This is a good question, though, to start. Now that Alabama sucks, can ticket prices go down, please? I was talking with one of my buddies about this. So I was like, you can probably get a pretty decent price on that Bama ticket now that they've lost that game. Probably not true. It's probably still going to be stupid expensive. Just might be a little less than it was, $600 or whatever. This is a good question. Well, that one might be a little bit of a stretch. What % of carries does Peanut get versus Austin Peay? I'd like to see 15 to 20% of carries go to Peanut. I'd like to see Nate Frazier ball out as well. He had a good week. He averaged 4-something yards a carry. Obviously, didn't get as much attention as some of those other guys. I think that's just because we're not going to, show all of our wrinkles in the run game with Frazier. Also, just think that this is more about getting other younger guys carries, whereas Frazier has a lot of experience. This is a good one. Will Georgia have any receivers over 100 yards this Saturday? I think if we do, it'll be Zach Branch again. Zach Branch could be an 1,000-yard receiver for Georgia. I talked with Hammy about this last week, talking about how really this team, you could have an 1,000-yard receiver. If we do, I think it's Zach Branch. Could be a lot of those guys. I think it's Zach Branch. Not just because he's the flashy dude, but just because I think he's really good and could be that guy. Who might get upset this week? I think I already mentioned this a little bit. I think Duke could upset Illinois. I may have to go look at some more of their stats to say for sure. And then one more. We'll do one more. Who do we face in the SEC championship? That's a tough question to answer at this point in the season. I do think Texas is still a really good football team, even though they lost. I'm going to get into that a little bit more in a minute. But I think Texas is still probably your favorite. Florida didn't play. Florida played Long Island. I can't make a judgment based off of that game. What I can say, though, is Florida's recruited decently, fairly well these past couple years. And I do think the attitude's kind of changing around them. So Alabama just lost the game. They still could run the table these next 11 games and make the SEC championship. It's very possible. Those are 3 I think of immediately. LSU probably has a really good shot. An LSU team with a good defense, and obviously Brian Kelly's had pretty good offenses at LSU. LSU's probably got a really good chance. Those are the 4 teams I'd look at. 4 teams that I'd look at. I don't think any other ones make a legit case just yet, but we'll see. Still got a lot of time in this college football season. We're going to go ahead and get into that AP poll. Before I do, we're not going to do a scripture or faith note this week. I just didn't come prepared with one, so I apologize. We'll get back on that before long. But we'll do that next week. I will do one next week. I'll try to spend a lot of time thinking, giving some good effort towards that. We're going to look at that AP poll. After the AP poll, I'm going to send you guys to the episode, the interview with Hammy. And then after that interview, we'll go over some film, and we'll call it a day after that. We're going to go and look at this AP poll. Go ahead and pull it up. Definitely Some interesting stuff here this week with that top 25. Let's see. Okay. They've got Ohio State at 1. No one's surprised with Ohio State at 1. Obviously, they deserve to be. Penn State at 2, still kind of a shock to me. I know they're supposed to be returning a lot of production. Don't really know much about it. I don't think Drew Aller's that guy. I'm not saying that just to hate on Penn State or just throw stuff out there. I just don't see it. LSU at 3, I think that's fair. They played a good game against a tough opponent. Clemson, though, didn't look very great on offense. Cade looked so overwhelmed after, and I blame that on his line. He looked pretty fine at the start of the game, but the O-line just started to fall apart, and the O-line falling apart caused Cade to look worse, in my opinion. I blame the offensive line, but I blame Cade for being a veteran quarterback and not getting it together. I'm not a veteran quarterback, so it's not fair for me to put too much judgment. I'm not in those shoes, but definitely he could have stepped up for his team a little bit more, I would say, and I don't think he would disagree with that, so I think that's fair. Georgia at 4 is, I think, fair. As I said, let's stay under the radar. Let's fly under the radar these next couple of games. I don't want to be ranked super high. I don't want to go into the bigger games ranked number 1. I want to stay as low as possible. That being said, the 4 is probably pretty realistic. Miami at 5 is interesting. They've got an experienced quarterback in Carson Beck. Say what you will about him. He's experienced. And right now it looks like they're pretty good in the trenches. And I think Notre Dame's a fairly well-coached team. They're very well-coached, actually. Marcus Freeman's a great coach. I think both those teams look great. Between all the top 10 games, you had Texas, Ohio State, Clemson, LSU, Notre Dame, Miami. The way all those games played out, all those teams look good. Obviously, I think Texas and Clemson had some real offensive struggles, but overall the teams look good and all deserve to stay in the top 10. They didn't play like the worst games. They just played a tough opponent and struggled in some areas, which I think they'll be able to recover. So those teams all should stay in the top 10, and they did. So I applaud AP voters on that. Other point being, is Miami at 5 too high? I don't know. I think that's a question that's been asked. I think it's okay, like I just said. I think it's good. Oregon at 6 seems a little high, but again, they have talent. They've recruited well. Texas, Clemson, Notre Dame all falling where they should be. South Carolina at 10 is a little interesting, and I don't think it's because they're your typical 10th best team in the country. I think it's because there's not more than 9 teams better than them right now. I don't know. Just the teams below them, I don't think would beat them. Illinois at 11. That might be a little high. Same with Arizona State. Arizona State I think they're still the highest team in the Big 12. Yeah, I think they are. That's probably fair-ish. Florida at 13. Again, they beat a really bad Long Island team by a lot, so you can't really say much about it. But Florida at 13. I don't want Florida to do well when I say this. I want Florida to be a hyped-up game and Georgia goes in and crushes them. I think that would look great for us. Florida State at 14. Florida State could have jumped Florida, in my opinion. That might sound crazy to some of you, but they played a really good game, and Alabama played a really bad game. Speaking of Alabama, we'll get to them in a minute. We're going to go and zoom through 15 to 20 then. Michigan at 15, Iowa State at 16, SMU at 17, Oklahoma State at 18. That seems fair. A&M at 19. They probably should have dropped. They struggled with UTSA for sure. For sure they struggled with them. Ole Miss at 20. They jumped one spot. They probably could have jumped A&M, arguably Oklahoma, but I'm not going to say that just yet. Bama falling to 21. I'm happy they fell to 21. I wish they didn't fall there at the same time because I do want our game to be a little more hyped up. I do think it's weird if Florida State is so good that you're going to put them at 14, then how does Alabama drop 8 spots for losing to a team that's the 14th team in the country? Is my take on that. I could be completely wrong. Y'all could completely disagree with me on that. I just think, realistically, if Florida State looked that good to you, then why did Alabama fall that many spots? They did dominate them, though. I will say that. There's 2 ways to look at it. Tennessee jumped to 22 after beating Syracuse. Syracuse only returned 3 starters, which I was not aware of until the day of or after the game. So, Syracuse having 3 returning starters, not sure what side of the ball they were completely, but they put up 26 points with 3 returning starters. I think 2 things. You got to give credit to Fran Brown, and that looks really good for an explosive Georgia offense. The team with 3 returning starters can put up 26 on Tennessee. What is Zach Branch and Noah Thomas and Colby Young and Gunner Stockton and Nate Frazier and an overall fairly good offensive line with a lot of potential? What's that team going to do against Tennessee next week? I think it could be pretty beautiful for Georgia. We'll see. Indiana at 23, they dropped 3 spots. I don't remember what their score was. I don't think they played a great game. I think Indiana's just riding a high horse from last year. I think they're fairly overrated. Texas Tech at 24, same deal. Not sure what their score was, but I know they spent a lot of money on this team. Utah at 25, they kicked the crap out of UCLA and Nico Yamaliava. So 43-10. It was a beatdown. It was a beatdown. I watched a good bit of it, or a couple minutes of it. It was a beatdown. I would say I watched a couple minutes of it. I was kind of over exaggerating, but it was a beatdown. That's the top 25 for you. I think it's pretty justified. We can debate that a little bit more in the comments, but I think it's overall pretty solid. I'm going to go and send y'all to that interview with Hammy, and then once we get back from that, we will look over film from Gunner Stockton and how he played in week 1. We'll also look at Drew Bobo, who's got some people don't know as much about him, but we're going to answer some questions you may have about Drew Bobo as well. All right, we're back with Hammy this week. We're going to talk a little bit about the Marshall game, kind of our thoughts on that, and then moving into Austin Peay and then forward into SEC play. Hammy, first question for you. What are your first impressions on Gunner Stockton after that week 1 performance?
Man, he's impressive. Obviously, the run game is definitely something that that stood out. 2 rushing touchdowns is definitely nothing to go quietly into the night. I don't care if it's Marshall or if it's Alabama or if it's Ohio State or whoever. 2 rushing touchdowns from a quarterback in his first. Really, I mean, I'm going to call it his first real start. I mean, of the Gunner Stockton era. I was very impressed with some of his reads at the line of scrimmage, and I really enjoyed just watching him play. Concerns throwing the ball. I don't know if that's the game plan or if that's the whatever it is, but I was a little worried not seeing him get to air it out as much as we might have thought with the wide receiver room that we've got, some of those edge receivers and Noah Thomas and Colby Young. We didn't get to see him much get it to those guys. Obviously, Zachariah Branch had himself a day, but it was on the slant routes and screen routes and all that stuff. But I'm ready to see him air it out. And his throwing didn't give me all the confidence in the world, but nonetheless, let's say a B rating from Gunner Stockton because of the lack of throwing. So
I think that's fair. I went back and watched. I tried to watch every single throw, but sometimes YouTube TV kind of screws you over on those plays.
yeah,
But here's what I like to do though. I like to go and see the whole field so I can say, okay, did he make the right read here or not? And sometimes I don't get that view, so I'm like I can't say for sure. And what's also tough is like not being in that room. I can't tell you, hey, the read's over to the right or the read's. I don't know all that. I'm not. I just am not in those rooms. I can't for sure give a 100% accurate assessment of what I thought. I thought it looked pretty good. I definitely think there were 2 really bad throws he had. One was a Texas route to Cash that got tipped up, almost intercepted. And then there was one later in the first half where it got batted at the line. Probably should have been a pick 6, but got pretty lucky.
yeah,
But overall, I do think his running ability definitely helps that running attack. I think we talked about that a little bit last week. But I'm excited to see where that takes us. Excited to see, like we said, hopefully get some of those new additions or some of those players are getting back, like Colby Young, new additions like Noah Thomas, maybe spread the ball a little more. Would like to see Taylor maybe get some targets this week. But I do think part of it's just the playbook's not as open right now, and I'm okay with that. I'm
yeah,
okay with not showing off what we've got until SEC play. So, but I think it's an encouraging start. Definitely can build on it.
yeah.
Um, Speaking of that first start, kind of seeing what we got in our team, just those first impressions. What are your first impressions on the offensive line? What did we learn about our starting 5 this week?
Number one thing is we got to stay healthy. We saw that last season. There was constant turnover in the offensive line group due to injury, and we saw Gaston go down early in the game on one of those Gunner Stockton touchdown runs. We saw Michael Morris get cramped up. So health is going to be the number one thing that I'm going to focus on that offensive line group. But as a whole, performance-wise, I think it was, a decent game. Once again, like we said, for the Gunner area of play, it's, the playbook's not entirely open. I know that one video you posted on Instagram of Gaston as a pulling guard, just absolutely laying that dude out.
It was
That was
beautiful.
awesome.
It was
That
so
was
beautiful.
awesome. And he's a freshman, so that is so promising. And maybe it's even beyond 2025 with a guy like that and keeping him in the system for 3, hopefully 4 years, but most likely 3. I mean, that looks like a first round NFL type of play right there. So
Yeah.
that was awesome to see. I think the offensive line has much improvement ahead of them. I think it's a group that, like we said, last week, what we said all off season. It's a group that struggled last season, and we going into this year, we didn't go to the transfer portal in the offensive line group. If this offensive line was so bad last year, is it not the best, not maybe the worst thing in the world that they moved on to the next level? Like, we've got our guys. Kirby's had them in our system. He trusts these guys. And I think we can take that and run with it. I think it'll be a progressive group throughout the year. It's going to be one that we see improve over the course of 2025. But man, I'm excited. I'm excited for those guys. We talked about it last week too. Michael Morris is the biggest dude on the football field in almost every single situation. So I'm excited for him. He's quick with his feet. Monroe Freeling can take that step forward. And Ernest Green, he took a step back last season, but 2 seasons ago, he was like a projected first round pick in the coming, a draft down the road. Like he's got that game changer ability on the offensive line. So like we said, it's just going to be an improvement week to week thing, and having these 2 cupcake tune-up games to open the season before SEC play starts in Knoxville is huge, so we can get these guys ready for that matchup with Tennessee. But can't look over Austin Peay.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Really concerned. I'm like the line's not even there, so that must mean that they don't want to reveal a line because it's they don't know it's going to be too close.
Yeah.
Um, but about the Juan Gaston clip, he needs to not stare it down next time. I think.
Yeah.
He
Yep.
stared the dude down, and then Nate got tackled. And that was what all the comments were like. They're like, "Good block, but I might need you to not stare him down. Look upfield next time."
Yeah, that's a
Incredible
freshman
block.
mistake.
It's a
You
freshman
get
mistake.
you
He'll
get
get past
hyped
that.
up in the moment. You're
Yeah.
like, I'm
Yeah.
playing my first ever game in Sanford Stadium, and I just laid the dude out. But yeah, I totally agree. He's got to stick with the play. Finish 10 yards further than where the ball ends is my
It was great though. It was very encouraging.
yeah.
If this two deep offensive line can get a bunch of reps this week as they did last week and just get that experience, I think Georgia really can be a pretty scary team to play in the running game. Like Georgia, if Georgia can return to RBU standards
Yeah,
and just be that team that like no matter how good their passing game is or no matter how good the rest of their team is, they can run the football on you. That's a scary Georgia team.
I agree.
Uh,
I mean, I think
be on the
Gunner.
ground. I
Y-
mean,
Yeah,
it'd be a beautiful thing.
I mean, Gunner getting the run game started and then having those guys in the running back room. I really do think we can get back to that RBU standard that we so pride ourselves on. And like we said, I told you I'm scared of Gunner throwing the ball a little bit, it concerned me a little bit. But if we're an offense that is just ground and pound, like sign me up. Like let's
Yeah.
go,
Oh, yeah.
let's ride with it. I want us to be a run first team. And you don't want necessarily Gunner to be a run first guy. You don't want him to go through one read and if it's not there, run the ball. But if he gets through the progressions and he has that ability, like let's do it, man. Let,
Yeah.
let's let's
Oh,
keep
yeah.
the ball on the ground. So
And we
I'm
saw it. He can pick up yards. He can really improvise. I just hope that we do see sort of that playbook being opened up a little more. Him getting a little more comfortable with those downfield passes, which he's a very accurate passer downfield.
yeah,
Sometimes I just think he's not. He may not be the guy that's going to win it with his arm for Georgia. He'll be the
right.
guy who can win it with his toughness and with his legs, which is okay if we can win games like that, then I'm okay with that. It just depends on what Georgia's identity is offensively. Speaking of that running back room, do you think we really moved closer to finding a true RB2 to Nate Frazier this weekend?
Yeah, I mean Nate is I think the clear RB1 and we didn't see him get, maybe the preseason attention that we projected in the Marshall game, but he had a good game. I'm not knocking that. And I feel like probably going into the year most people had their eye on Cash just because he's the veteran in the room. But I think Dwight Phillips, Peanut, has the opportunity to be that true RB2. I think, we talked about it a little bit last week, how Bo Walker can kind of be that ground and pound dude. If Roderick Robinson gets healthy, he can be, the bowling ball that he is. But we really didn't talk about Dwight Phillips. Nate is definitely a lightning type of dude. He's lightning in a bottle, and if you give him some open field, we've seen what he can do. Go back to that Clemson game last year in the opening game, his first ever start for the University of Georgia, and he broke off that 40+ yard run, and then the touchdown run he had. Like, he's got that lightning ability, and you always kind of want the thunder guy behind him, the dude that's a short yardage guy, put him between the tackles and get those, 2-3 yards on third and short. But I'm not opposed to having two lightning guys, and I think Dwight Phillips is another lightning guy. He's quick, he's got quick feet, side to side quickness, and he put on some weight. So he's
Hmm.
not the bowling ball type, but what I see in Dwight Phillips is something like a Brian Harrion. Brian Harrion in 2016, he's a freshman and Kirby recruits him as a 3-star, and everybody's like, "Oh, he's small. He's not going to do much." He gets the first touchdown of that 2016 team against UNC in the Georgia Dome. That's what Dwight Phillips reminds me of. I kind of think it was a tone setter that he was the first touchdown scorer of this 2025 season. I think Kirby wants to give him his due diligence because he's been in the weight room. He's locked in. He's put on some pounds. He knows he wants to play for the University of Georgia, and he's willing to put the team on his back if it's in that situation. And he can really be that guy. So I'm excited for old Peanut to keep getting the ball, and I think he can be that running back 2 position behind Nate.
I love that we're just casually calling our RB2 Peanut. It's
I
great.
know.
I think that's gonna be on a game day story at some point. There's a
Oh
good
yeah,
chance.
yeah,
But uh, I think no matter who it is, definitely I would be leaning towards Dwight Phillips right now. But whoever it is, I'm confident in the room. I think everyone looked really good. It's unfortunate that Rod can't stay healthy. I mean,
yeah.
I hope to get to see him back out there because I know I went to a practice last year, last August. That dude looked like the most complete back out of all of them. I mean, he was just insane. And then he got hurt. It's unfortunate, but I hope he gets back out there. But I have one more question for you. We're gonna jump from Georgia to college football. This is
Mhm.
not me asking this question just because of how much I hate Alabama, but more so because our entire fan base has like circled this game in week 4. So I think I don't like jumping forward as much, but I kind of feel like it's a good topic for this. Looking at that Bama game, I feel like Bama got exposed in some ways, but I also feel like Florida State played a pretty good game. But I wanted to ask you, do you think Alabama is just not what Alabama's been? Are they a bad team now? Are they kind of falling off? Or did Florida State just play a good game? What's your, I guess, scouting report of that matchup?
It's crazy just to witness that, first of all. I mean, I think it's like 23 or 28, somewhere in the 20s, opening weekend streak of Bama winning that ball
I
game.
think it was 20. Ew. It was 20 something. I know it was
Yeah, it's
20.
20 something. So that's crazy. I think it's a bigger scope than just this Florida State game. 5-5 in the last 10 games. That's Alabama.
Mm.
It's a mentality of it's a mentality change, basically. I think, obviously, with Saban, you've got the GOAT, the greatest coach of all time. Before him, Bear Bryant, who's either tied one A, one B, Saban and Bear, or 1 and 2. I mean, those are the two best coaches of all time, and they've both been the head coach at the University of Alabama. But if you go back to Bear Bryant, afterward, they struggled to fill that hole until they hired Saban. Bama was a pretty sorry program there for quite a while until Saban got to Tuscaloosa. And I'm not saying that Kalen DeBoer has the mentality of like playing scared, like playing like he has to live up to the shoes of Nick Saban or fill those shoes of Nick Saban. But I do think he's got a little bit of a mentality change from West Coast football. It's totally different what happened with him at Washington. He's got Penix, a first round quarterback. He's got 3 NFL wide receivers. And I'm not saying Ty Simpson's not an NFL quarterback. I'm not saying Ryan Williams isn't an NFL wide receiver. But those guys over there at Washington had this mentality of just West Coast football, and I think it's entirely different than it is in the SEC. You go to the office change. I mean, the little things.
I was going to mention that.
Yeah, the little things in that Alabama program. You got Saban with this awesome, just old school kind of FU football type of mentality and office, and that's what the facility looked like. That's what, the t-shirts were printed. Like everything about it was kind of that mentality. And you bring in Kalen DeBoer, and he's got, this new office change. It looks like a newly renovated Quick Trip. Like it's like gas station lights and everything. I don't know. I think there's so much more to it than just this football game. Now, mathematically, is Alabama out of a playoff race? Are they out of the SEC championship race? Not at all. Do I think they can turn it around? Potentially. Do I think it will happen? I don't know they didn't get beat. They got dominated. I mean,
Mhm.
they couldn't move the ball on offense outside of that first drive. They drive down, they rush the ball for 55 yards. I think they got 28 rushing yards the rest of the game. Florida
Ooh.
State dominated them
Mhm.
up front, which is a completely different Alabama team than we've seen in the past. So, do I think that Bama game in Athens will still scare me going into it? Yes, dude, I'm terrified of Bama. They still have our number, and we can't ignore that. So it still scares me, especially if they get beat by UL Monroe or Wisconsin before that, and they're 1-2 coming into our game with them. I think they'll be pissed off and all that stuff. So I don't know. My mind. I know I just rambled forever, but my mind is like so wandering on Alabama. I haven't completely, I guess, given up hope on them because mathematically they're still in it. And if a Bama team is still in it, it's like Tiger on Sunday at the Masters, no matter how far back
It's a
he's in
good
it.
analogy.
So we'll see what happens. But yeah, I mean, I'm excited for that game because it
Me
does
too,
feel like we have
100%.
more of a chance than we ever have against
Have
Bama.
more stuff going our way, I feel
Right.
like. So far this year.
Yeah.
It does feel like a little bit of a culture shift. I'm not gonna say that he's completely lost the team, but just some things that would never slide with Nick Saban are sliding with Kalen DeBoer. Like last year, a player came out after the season and was like, "Oh yeah, we're not tolerating players being late to practice anymore," implying that players were late to practice, and that was kind of like okay at Alabama, which makes no sense. And
Right.
then the other thing, I saw a video of these two players while Florida State was kneeling it out. You may have seen it, the two defensive linemen laughing.
Yeah.
I've never seen Alabama players laugh during a loss
On a football
on
field?
the field. On the field.
No
It's
shot.
insane.
No
It's
shot.
insane. It's unreal. I do think that he is a little more lenient than Saban. I don't think that's a hot take. That's not me calling him a bad coach. He's won at every place he's been. So I'm not writing him off just yet, and I don't think it's fair to write somebody off after a season and one game. If
Yeah.
this trend continues, though, you might see some Bama boosters get together and be like, "How much money do we have?" That buyout is $63 million, by the
Yeah.
way.
Yeah.
That's not cheap. Even though they got boosters who can probably pay it, like that's not a cheap buyout by
No,
any
they
means.
don't they
But
don't have that Texas A&M money to get rid of Jim.
nope.
Like
It's
it's
the first
crazy.
comparison I came up with was Jimbo Fisher at A&M.
Yeah, I mean $63 million for Bama would be heart-wrenching because that money is going to players if not.
Yeah.
And you got to hold on to your coach so you have $63 million to pay those guys coming into the facility that actually are on the field. So it's I think Bama's in a tough situation, but
They
like I
are.
said, not counting them out yet.
Yeah, not counting them out yet. It's like even though I saw a post the other day, which was like odds of Bama's replacement for Kalen Bower. I'm like, guys, it's week one. Like, obviously, it's funny for me to see them in shambles right now,
Yeah.
but I'm not going to say anything else because somehow they're going to turn into the 2007 Patriots. Ty Simpson turns into Tom Brady. And then last note I did want to make actually about Ty Simpson. Their line, both of Alabama's lines got abused. They just didn't look good.
No.
Uh, Brooks Austin said they looked slow for the first time he's ever seen Alabama look slow. And then they just got abused, not even just their secondary, but their entire pass defense just got exposed. From the linebackers to the secondary, they got exposed. But I do think Ty Simpson has some real potential. I had been low on Ty Simpson for forever. I'm just like, this dude couldn't start over Jalen Milroe. I don't think he's very good based off what I've seen, but I saw him last week. Apparently, he put on some weight. He kind of looked like he did. And his mechanics, I know you can't just look at someone's throwing motion and be like, oh, he's legit, or see their movement. But he moves like an experienced player who could potentially win some games for Alabama. He made some good throws. I
Yeah.
mean, he struggled at times too, but I think overall he's not their issue right now. Their issue is they don't have the identity they've had in previous years. But that'll be something to look forward to definitely. And then we've obviously got the SEC opener next weekend. Um, it's unfortunate that I was not correct in covering or saying that Syracuse would cover the 13 and a half.
Yeah,
But
I had
you know
Syracuse
what? You
money
know what gives
line,
me
man.
hope though is Syracuse had three returning starters. I'm not sure what side of the ball they were on, but if three returning starters can put up 26 points, I think
Yeah,
we have a pretty good shot. And
yeah.
we also have their number, kind of like Alabama has ours. We'll look at it. We'll look at how both of our games go this next week, and that's going to be a long talking week next week for sure, especially for them because they love to talk.
Yep,
So,
yep,
but
yep.
we'll see. We'll see. I'm confident about both of those upcoming games, but it's so early in the season. I can't say for sure.
Yeah, I mean, you can tell some stuff, but you can't tell a lot from a game like Marshall. I think we have realized that in very much of the past. And even if it's a good opponent, like last year, we kill Clemson 34-3 in opening weekend, and it ends up being a quote unquote down year for Georgia football.
Fast forward to Kentucky 2 weeks later.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So like it's it is crazy to just assume everything from week one. And it for our sake, for Texas's sake, losing at Ohio State, for Ohio State's sake, like you can never tell what really happens in a college football season from week one, even from Bama's sake. But I will say this: I didn't touch on Florida State. I do think Florida State is a good team. I do
Yeah.
think that they have, a squad that can contend in the ACC championship race. I do think that they can win the ACC. With Clemson losing, the ACC seems more wide open than it ever has. Between Clemson, Florida State, Miami, and really Georgia Tech, I think the ACC has four.
LSU Faulkner.
Yeah, yeah. The ACC has four serious contenders for that conference title, so it's going to be a fun season, man. If week one didn't tell you that, then I don't think you watched a lick of football
Oh
this
yeah.
past
Oh
weekend.
yeah. Week one definitely got me excited to see where this season goes, not just SEC, but really all around the country.
Yep,
Thank you for coming on again. I appreciate answering
of
these
course,
questions.
man.
We'll have a lot more and a lot deeper discussion next week because obviously we got a bigger game to look forward to. But I appreciate it. Go Dogs, and we will be back next week with some more analysis.
Yep, go Dogs, man.
All right, we're going to take a look at Gunner Stockton and Drew Bobo's film against Marshall. I'm not going to give you any sort of like take on it until after a full take on both of their films until afterwards because I don't want you going into this with some sort of bias or some sort of view on it already. Also, if I look a lot more tired, it's because I'm recording this much later in the day than when I recorded the interview with Hammy. So yeah, definitely been a long day, but I'm glad I'm back to do some film analysis on these guys. Very exciting stuff to look at. Definitely a lot of potential. Let's go with that. That might be a better word. A lot of potential between these two. But I'm just excited to get into it. We're going to go jump straight into the film. Right here, we got this screen pass we've all seen from Gunner to Branch. We're just going to let it play real quick. Great play from Branch. I love the way that Drew Bobo gets out in front and tries to find somebody. He doesn't really pick up a block, but I love the way that he gets out in front on this play. Good effort play from Drew Bobo on this. Just doesn't. I mean, he just misses some blocks. He's out there. He's trying to make the block. He just doesn't make it. That's where experience will come in there for a guy like Drew Bobo who hasn't played as much football as some of these other guys. Good job to Gunner on that for getting the ball up quick. I know a critique of his for sure has been how quickly his throwing motion is, but look pretty solid there. We'll take it. Got the ball fairly quickly. That's what we need. This next play, I don't really blame Drew Bobo as much for this pressure getting through because I think it's just a good draw up from Marshall. It's a delayed blitz. It's a really good, well-executed delayed blitz. Gunner uses his legs, picks up some yards for Georgia, so that's a beautiful thing right there. This play right here, we're going to see some good drive from Drew Bobo, but I do wish we could get a little more off of that. I do wish we could see him drive someone back a little further than that. I can't complain too much. Good pull from Gunner. It's just a fake. Yeah, this is the fake speed option. So definitely a great play from Gunner here. I can't wait to see how his rushing ability really helps this Georgia offense in 2025. We're going to look a little closer at Drew Bobo on this play. Wish he would keep his footing. I know that's a tough position when you got all those guys right there. I mean, that's like 6 linemen that you're running into. So I get it. It makes sense. Like, you got to look at these things. Does it look beautiful on this film? No. But it makes sense from a film standpoint. Same time, I do wish he would keep his footing. This is where a quicker start, a quicker jump off the ball, more push right here. And I mean, he's trying to. You can see his feet moving a little bit. But I still think we could improve from that standpoint. Look at the run from Nate for whatever reason I want to. Because Nate's elite. Nate's elite. Nate's a dog. He'll be a dog. It feels like a lot of these plays of this game were the ones that he had were ones where the line broke down for some reason. I don't know what it is, but definitely think Nate could be an elite player for Georgia this year. I think he will be. This is play 5, I believe. I think he needs to stay on that double team for a little longer because that lineman does end up getting a hand on Frazier. But it's a good-looking double team nonetheless. Again, what's tough about this is I'm not in these meetings with Georgia, so I can't tell you exactly what the coaches are telling these players, but I can just give you as good of a take as possible. I think he needs to probably commit a little more to the double team, stay on it for a little longer. I don't even want to say commit to it more, just stay on it longer. Like, if he stays right here, if he doesn't leave right there, now I love where his eyes are. I love that he's looking at the double team. You know what it tells you is it tells you that Drew Bobo is a smart football player. You just got to get better execution. That's all it comes down to for Drew Bobo. And watching these highlights at first, I was a little discouraged because I thought he played poorly, and I still think he definitely struggled in some areas, which we'll see. But I think there's a lot of potential here, and the more I watch it, the more I see it. So that's exciting for me. I do wish on a play like this that he would. No, I'm not as upset about that play. He finishes the block. I wish he would stay a little lower. If he stays lower, he probably doesn't get flung off like that at the end. But it could be a lot worse. We're going to look at this play. It's a good rush from Stockton, I believe. Yeah, or not a rush. This good enough block from Mike, not Mike. I keep wanting to call him Mike because whenever I'm talking about Bobo, it's Mike usually. Bobo does his job. He doesn't need to be a hero here. It's a good enough block. I do wish we could see a little more speed out of him. Little quicker feet. And I guess he is a center right here, bunched up in the middle of the line, so I get it. Do wish we'd see a little more speed from him, though, a little more quickness. Good low throw from Gunner, but that's okay. We get some yards in what a lot of times wouldn't be any yards. So we're good with it. Nothing too upsetting about that. This is a good play overall. I think Drew Bobo gets a pretty solid block right there. I like the design because it gives Gunner a quick decision, an easy throw as well. Delp holds on to that football. I still wish he would hold on to it past the whistle, but he held on to it during the play. They didn't call it a fumble. So no real issues there. I'm trying to make this film to where, like, the things we need to get into, but I'm not going to, like, ramble about stuff that doesn't need to be said. So if y'all have any input on that in the comments, let me know. I think this is good, though. You need to get the main stuff. Just analyze the film, break down the film, but at the same time not be just wasting time on every single play that y'all could be learning about another play. So this is brief, but everything you need to know at the same time, which is kind of contradictory. But you get what I'm saying with that. So this is the 8th play right here. I think he needs to get off of that first block quicker. That double team. He's a little. Let's see. It's supposed to be a double team. Which, I mean, he does a good job. The dude's on the ground. The dude's knees are almost on the ground. So clearly he's got a good drive right there. We're going to watch it full speed real quick. I do wish that he could be moving him a little further back, a little quicker, so that he can get to this second level. He just misses the block too. He reaches. He's got to be quicker, and I know he's tripping over this other guy right here too. So I get that. I get it. It's totally makes sense. But you can't say, "Oh, I tripped, oh, I slipped, oh," any of this in college football for Georgia. Like it's not gonna pan out. However, I see what's happening here. I'm not saying, "Oh, Drew Bobo, go be perfect." Like, I'm not saying that, but I do wish that he could move through this a little quicker and get to this double or the second level a little quicker. But it's a good initial block. I'll say that. Good initial block. It could have been a lot worse. Good drive on the first block as well. We're going to look at this play. This is a shot play that Gunner takes to Taylor. Look at Bobo first. He gets driven back a little bit. And he recovered, so that's good. But I like to see him not get knocked back like that at the beginning of the play. It is a pass block, so we'll say that much. I don't blame Gunner really for this. He's getting pressured. Let's look. I think this was the one they sent 8. They sent 1, 2. They sent 7. They almost sent 8. They almost sent 8 with this linebacker right here. Almost sent 8 right there. which would have been unreal. But there may have been another play later in the game where they sent 8. Given that this is the image Gunner has right there, I'm okay that he overthrew this a little bit, but he took the shot, which is good. We need him to take more shots downfield, I feel like. And I know Taylon Taylor is going to be a very good football player for UGA this season. So all things considered, and if you look back at that play, we'll go back to it real quick. Colby would have also been blanketed right here. This I would call that a safety for now. This safety probably would have been over here, so probably would have been on that had he thrown it to Colby. So I'm not upset with the decision. Also, it's just him getting sacked. I know where my deep ball is. I know I got some sort of numbers. Here's where I'm throwing it. I like it. I have no issue with it. I'll look at this play now. I'm good with the block by Bobo there. No issue there. Great job by Gunner knowing that it's man and getting it to the most athletic guy on the field in Zach Branch. Definitely a good play there. I have no concerns with that one. This is a play that initially I was upset with. Drew Bobo. No, that's the play. I'm sorry, y'all. We may be behind one play on my notes right here. Yeah, I would just like to. Oh, I'm sorry. There was one part I missed in the last play. That's completely my fault. Sorry, I'm going the wrong way now. Y'all. It's been a long day. Good day, but long day. So just consider that. Oh, yeah, here's what it was. This player right here. It's okay because he doesn't get to Gunner, but we got a player right here that almost, if my. Right. Sorry, it's not working. Right here, he almost gets a shot on Gunner. And I believe if we go back earlier in this play, it's because Bobo's got this dude over here. Cash doesn't need to commit as early as he does. This is a delayed blitz for sure, which they do this a couple times in this game, and I give Marshall credit for scheming up that delayed blitz, but still not crazy about the way this looks up front. Either way, I don't blame Bobo as much for it. Great pass from Gunner, knows where his guy is. Beautiful stuff. Happy to see that. Right here, let me pull this back up. Do they send 8 here? Golly, this looks stupid. I mean, they just about send 8 right there. Can we get a picture of this? I'm gonna take a picture. This is what Marshall does. This is what happens when you play a smaller team. They're gonna send 8 for whatever reason. I don't know. They get to Gunner, but he's gonna make a great play, and I'll show you in just a minute. Let's see, where is this at? Oh, yeah, this is what was here with Bobo, too. Like to see him find a block. I know that guy goes around. I don't even know. That's probably not supposed to happen. Dude just makes up his own play, I think. And he runs into these Marshall guys who really can't chase him, or else he's just opening a lane right there. But even still, as this play goes on, we'll let the improv by Gunner go real quick. Great improv. Would still like to see Bobo find somebody. I know. Now, here's what I love, though. I love this. He's the first lineman out there. He's also not blocking anyone at the time. But he's making a real effort to get out in front of Gunner. So I love that. That fires me up as a Georgia fan. However, I just wish he would find somebody. Even if it's him turning around and finding somebody, like clearly nobody's ahead of Gunner. Or if they are, then why is Drew not there? That's my question there. Sorry, we just skipped for a little bit. Anyway, at that point, I'm being very nitpicky in what I'm saying. This is a good play overall by Drew Bobo. I'll say that much. So far for Bobo, it's like you got some things you can tell are really good, some things you can tell need refinement in his technique, but overall he's got a lot of potential. Some things that look things that look really good, and some plays that just look horrible. And that's true for all players. It's gonna happen. I was definitely very tough the first time I looked on him. The first time I looked at this film, looked at it again, I'm like, there's some things that's why you go over film. You miss some things. Even the first, you might go over film multiple times because you miss some things. Overall. This one's bad, though. I will get on to him for this one because he misses that block. Actually, no, I'm wrong on that. This is Juan Gaston's fault. I don't know, or this just could be a good front from Marshall. That's a hard down block to ask Juan Gaston to get, but it looks like that's what they're trying to get him to do. That being said, I do wish Bobo would drive his feet a little more on this and then finish the play. Sometimes, and it's not, I don't want to call it an effort thing. I just don't, because it's not. I can tell he's got good effort in a lot of these clips. Sometimes he just doesn't finish the block or finish the play. And I think that's just sort of an experience thing, sort of a, hey, finish blocks. Not because I don't think he can. I just don't think he realizes that he's not finishing blocks. A lot of times on film. You'll see it even more, though, as we go on. But yeah, I mean, I think he needs to hit the down block. Great pull. I think this is pretty good overall. We've got Bobo hits his block. I think, yeah, there you go. And then drives the guy. Wish he wouldn't catch this dude right here. I wish he'd start driving him that way. Either way, still nitpicky stuff. Gets 2 good blocks. Nowhere near Gunner. Gunner gets a touchdown. It's great. It's great. Well, we will take it. This one, Bobo missed his block. He definitely did. However, it's not a big deal in this case. Sorry. Not a big deal in this case because it's nowhere near Gunner. However, I blame Gunner for underthrowing this. I blame Delt for bobbling it. But he probably bobbled it because it was so underthrown. If he puts a little air on this, it's probably a touchdown. So the critique there goes to Gunner Stockton. Drive and finish the play here from Bobo is what I'd say. I don't like seeing him kind of hop on over to the pile right there. I know. I'm not a lineman. I'm a linebacker at heart. So I'm trying to break down a position that's not mine. I feel like I do a pretty good job of it. However, there's some things I don't know. Like sometimes linemen aren't going to be able to make a play right here. I get that. Still would like to see him hustle over there and try to make a block. Even if it's not a good block or if he doesn't make one, I just want to see a little more of execution at the end of these plays and finishing blocks is the way I would look at it for Bobo. This was a good block by Bobo. He's not asked to do too much. Good throw, too. Dylan just drops it. I think he gets a little nervous about the hit. Not calling him a nervous football player. I just think he gets nervous about that hit. If you watch it back, let's see. Both players do their job here. It's a good block by Bobo. And I think it's just a play that takes too long to develop. Gunner takes too long to see it, maybe. And that's something they're going to look at in practice, too, because Colby can't be doing this thing where he zigs back over and thinks the ball's going to him. Maybe, I don't know what that is. That's a plethora of things going wrong right there. Just doesn't look right. This is a play that this is tough to look at. Not tough to look at. Tough to break down because as a quarterback, and even it being Gunner, get extra yards. And I know if the talk hadn't been this entire offseason about, hey, Gunner, get down, start sliding, probably would have gone upfield on this, but he cuts outside. I like the numbers inside right here. I think more so if Dwight Phillips hits his block. I really don't know what happens right here for Dwight. Does he, or is Micah supposed to get it? I don't know what goes on there. I think that just needs to be the way it looks. And again, this could totally be something where Micah's supposed to take the inside guy and then Dwight leads outside. I don't think that's the case though. I think Micah needs to hit this block. I think Dwight needs to hit that block. But again, this is what's so tough about not being in these meetings. It's still like Gunner to get upfield regardless of the fact that Dwight misses that block. Maybe even right here, cut up behind Micah. I don't like as much him trying to get outside. Either way, bad blocks, and I think it all around this could be a better play, definitely. And I don't want him to take hits, but still get the yards when you can. And then Bobo had one thing I wanted to mention right here. It's sort of a tough play to look at from his standpoint because he's hinging. He's hinging. I think he does a good job. He's technically hinging there because he got 2 pullers, so that's good. We'll take that. There's nothing to complain about right there. Good enough block. I mean, he gets back on it, which is good. I wish he would stay connected from the start of the play. Great run, great touchdown from Gunner. A great pull. This one is interesting right here, definitely. Cash Jones is wide open on this Texas route, and Gunner just throws behind him, even though it is pass interference. I will say that. Pass interference and a half. Grabs his jersey right there. You can see it. However, Gunner needs to lead this a little bit. That's a pick 6 against a good team. Plain and simple. Look at Bobo right here. I think this is definitely a good idea of getting up to the next level. Clearly he's a smart guy, but find the block there. Connect on that block right there at the end. He gets turned around. Look where he's facing here. He turns around and kind of gets the block, but I wish he'd just be a little more attached to that block from the start. I do wish I'd see a little more drive right here on this. I know it's sort of a hinge, but I'd still like a little bit of drive on that. And then climb into that block and just finish. This is where quickness too. Quickness helps him right there. This thing keeps skipping ahead. I'm sorry, y'all. Or skipping back. I don't know why. Overall, though, not too bad. Could be a lot worse, definitely. We got about 13 more plays, y'all. This is a nice little film study. There's a double team on this. Yeah, it looks like he's double teaming the nose tackle for a minute. It's kind of tough to tell from the single, but it does, the way his shoulder moves. Do wish he would get upfield to that block, or any of those blocks. He's slow to the play right here, I believe. He's a little slow to that. I wish he would find someone and drive. But, again, I think he's got a lot of potential. He's clearly a very smart guy. Has the size and the strength to do it. Right here, I'm not blaming this 100% on Micah. I'm not blaming it 100% on Bobo. I'm just pointing it out that it's a problem and it needs to get fixed because it almost gets your QB1 killed. Don't know what that's supposed to be. I know Bobo has a hand on him. Maybe he's expecting Micah to have it. I blame this on Micah more, I think, because I see that Cash has this guy right here, so Micah doesn't need to be worried about what's out there. Micah needs to be more inside right here. And he's just not. And Micah's just as new as Bobo is to starting the game. So, or more new, in fact, I believe. But it gets Gunner almost killed in the process. Pretty good ball for the fact that he just met Jesus behind a football game. So, that's that. Looking at this play, it's still just bad miscommunication. It can get your quarterback killed. I think this one's pretty solid all around. Good block. All you need is a pass block. Good find from Gunner. Good little bullet right there. This is a good block. Good throw. Throw the flag because he was held clearly. Don't know why I did that pause thing right there. I apologize for that. Another good throw. Almost hits him in the hands. Definitely should have been a flag. Or could have been a flag because they're both fighting there. So I get that a little bit more. But he's still got a hold to know his jersey. I think that's where the play starts. I don't know. I think from an unbiased standpoint, that's a fair call right there. But it's a great throw from Gunner and a great block from Bobo. So another good block right here from Bobo. Gunner takes off. Great improv. As always, Go Dogs. I love the way Gunner just embodies that Georgia mentality right there of I'm going to run the ball. I don't care where you hit me. I'm going to meet you. I'm a stiff arm. Like, that's Georgia football. I love it. Good block here from Bobo. Do wish Gunner would see this a little more quickly. I think he could throw it probably about when Zach turns his head. He could be throwing this ball right now and not have to worry about that. He's lucky he didn't throw it any later, else it could very well be going the other way when we got a 21-7 ball game at half. Another good, terrible attempt by 24. I don't even know if that may have just been a spy, but still good enough from Bobo. Not too worried about that. I think that's just him reacting to him. I don't know what 24 is doing. I think it's a spy. Not very physical up front, but Bobo doesn't need to be physical on that, I guess. I do love Micah Morris right there, though. I believe it's Micah Morris still in. Love it. Wish you could see, that is one thing. I do wish some of that aggressiveness you see out of Micah Morris. If you get more of that from Bobo, sorry, just really screwed up my words. You get more of that from Bobo, whew. Bobo could be that guy. He's a lot of potential. Now this pass gets batted. And Georgia has had a bad tendency of getting batted passes from the last three quarterbacks. Even Stetson at first really struggled with it. We're lucky that we're playing a horrible team, or else this could be an interception, if not a pick six. So let's clean that up, not have as many batted passes. Gunner makes a great improv right here. Drew Bobo misses his block. This is really one of the less impressive plays from Bobo. Definitely got lucky that you got a running quarterback in Gunner Stockton. Great step up from Gunner right here. Bobo just needs to see this more quickly. That's all. This is one of the few plays where Bobo misses a block because of a not doing his assignment. the most of the other time, I think it's just technique that we can refine a little bit. Gunner needs to slide earlier. That's it happened one other time in this game. That's just the theme in general. He needs to slide earlier. Although I love seeing him try to get extra yards as a quarterback. It's grit and determination. I missed this just now. Let's see. Good double team right there. Good little drive. Gets on that block. I do wish you see a little more drive on that block. However, I'm not complaining. I consider that a win for Bobo. This play is really just Zach Branch. It's a good dump off from Gunner. Good block from Bobo. What it needs to be. The whole line looks like it slides. But I don't know if that's intentional. But Zach Branch is your guy offensively this year for Georgia. So it's very exciting to see what you got out of Gunner, out of Drew Bobo. At times definitely looks great. Definitely is more concerning at times. However, I do think with some more practice, some more experience, Drew Bobo really has the potential to be a great center. It's still putting it together right now. Some plays he just needs to finish the play a little better. Better execution towards the end of plays. Better execution driving people back. Play lower. That's really all I got for him. I think the sky's the limit is what I put for him. As far as Gunner, great runner and leader. Obviously, we've all seen that he can really lead, and he's Mr. Georgia. That's what I called him. I'm going to stick with that name, I think. Mr. Georgia over here is accurate. He's very comfortable, but I would like to see him be more comfortable earlier, if that makes sense. Make these reads that he knows are there and he's very comfortable with, but make them earlier. Make some of those throws earlier, especially that slant to Branch. Clean up the bad throws. There were only really two or three that were horrid. The rest of them were okay. And I know we're not trying to show the playbook, so it's tougher to judge a game like Austin. We play Austin Peay this week. It's tougher to judge a game like Marshall on, or tough to judge Georgia on that game because you're not revealing much of the offense, and it's not a very good team. However, given what we did see, I think there's a lot of promise for Georgia from those two positions. So, I mean, I'm just excited to see the way that we play football with those two leading the line and the offense when it's all said and done. He's leading the offense. But I appreciate you all tuning into this podcast. I hope we like this new camera angle for just the film. We're doing just that camera for the film. I think it'll look pretty good. We'll take a look at it. We'll do a film review on the podcast. We'll review the film. We'll review the film review, if you will. But I'm excited for where this is going. Please do check out all these socials. Check out the merch. I think that'd be great. Y'all should go check out the merch. We'll get some more stuff on either next week or the week after. Maybe the bye week would be a good time to do that. That's an idea I just came up with on the go. You come up with stuff on the go. It's great. But I'm excited for where this page is going. We had a great week one. I know these next 2 weeks are going to be pretty awesome. Bama and Tennessee hype ups will be some of the most effort I ever put into a hype up. And I'm very excited for what I'm about to give you guys with respect to both of those. So stay tuned for that. Go Dogs, appreciate y'all watching. We'll break down some Austin Peay film next week, but more than anything, we'll break down Georgia versus Tennessee film. We'll go over some scores from both of those teams. We'll go over some strengths and weaknesses. But it's exciting. Georgia football's back. SEC play is nearly back. I'm sorry I didn't give y'all a faith note, a scripture note for this week. I haven't had time to put a good one together. I've been busy, but I should have found some time to do one. That's my fault. I will get you one next week, but what I will leave you with is great song out right now. Phil Wickham, Brandon Lake. It's called Love of God. It's new. Listen to the live version. It's great. But that's my substitute for that segment today. I appreciate you all. Go Dogs, and we will talk football next week. Thank you all.